Hello, human peoples. You're listening to the podcast network of Gamefully Unemployed. To support us and gain access to great exclusive podcasts like Fox Mulder is a Maniac, Tom and Jeff Watch Batman, Star Trek The Next Futurama, and our latest show, Spiel Boys, head over to patreon.com/gamefullyunemployed. We do game streaming, movie nights with our patrons every Friday night, and you can even commission your own podcast about anything you want. Literally anything, within reason, and we have to do it. You are quite frankly out of excuses not to go visit patreon.com/gamefullyunemployed. That's patreon.com/GAMEFULLY unemployed, which is spelled like it sounds. Welcome to Screamplay, a show about spooky video games. With your hosts, Tom and John Ryman. Hello, everyone.
Hello.
Welcome to an episode of Screamplay, the show where we scream and play. No, it's a show about spooky video games. You guys, I'm your co-host, Tom Ryman.
And I am a second in number of those co-hosts, John Ryman. And we have a guest today.
We're being haunted by David Bell.
Thank you for having me on your show. I am delighted to be here.
He's one of the three bodies on the slab, and he's sprung to life for long enough to talk to us about the mortuary assistant.
Yeah.
Gotta burn me.
Yep. I'm just going to stop posting things on social media about like our next shows because I think we've changed this one like 3 times now.
Oh, yeah? Part of it was my fault.
No, it wasn't. It was originally, it was supposed to be Doki Doki Literature Club. So if you caught us, we were just recently on the nerd, on that nerd podcast with Jeff May and Dre Alvarez. Yeah. That nerd is what it's called. But
Patreon.com/Jeff May. Check it out.
Yeah, we talked about Doom. It was awesome. But I said on that one that we were going to be doing Doki Doki Literature Club, but we've got a special guest coming on for that, and things happened, and that was rescheduled. And then I went online and said, okay, well, we're going to be talking about that. Now we're going to be talking about Dead Space. But then that was too close. Tom made a very good decision and like, well, we need a little bit more time to prepare because that's a seminal game for us. And then Dave, like a hero on a white horse, came riding in and said, I have a game for you guys. And it's a bite-sized indie game.
That's not so for the record, Tom came to me and there was a dating game, a dating sim.
We
and
left out a whole
it.
saga here. We left out Richard Donner's Superman 2 here.
I was going to give him the benefit of the doubt. Dave, I was painting you as a hero.
Oh, thank you. No, not a hero, though. So you gave me that dating game. I downloaded it, and I played about 15, 20 minutes and realized that I did not retain any of it. And then it occurred to me something that's very obvious. I don't like dating sims. Like, it was like, oh, yeah, I don't like these. So we, like, talked it out, and I suggested this game, the Mortuary Assistant, because I had it, and I knew it was a bite-sized game.
Yeah.
Although it kind of isn't. It's like around is bite-sized, but it's actually more like a 6-hour game.
Like a 6-hour bite. You really got to sit there and chew on it.
It's got a lot of replayability to it that we're going to get into.
I mean, there is a way to complete the game.
There is.
Yes.
There's a lot of replayability though to go back and do different things and take it round differently each time. But at the top here, I'd like to just check in with you guys and see, hey, what are you guys playing right now? This is a video game podcast. I figure we should talk about what video games
Mortuary Assistant.
Yeah, besides that, God damn it, Tom.
I've been playing Stranded Deep, which was a game that I originally downloaded on PlayStation, a survival crafting game.
Did it get better?
Did you play it on PlayStation?
I played it on PlayStation when it first launched.
Same. And I did not like it.
Yep. I think we played it together or at the same time. Anyway, sorry, this is your story.
But they have updated it a bunch. And I don't think you would still like it, Tom. I think you have to kind of really like survival crafting, but they updated it and I got the hang of it, and now I am enjoying it for what it is. It is tedious.
It's tedious,
yeah, it's a very grounded survival game. Kind of like Sons of the Forest, or The Forest is a little bit a game you guys.
Oh wait, yeah, I'm sorry. I just wanted to amend that real quick. I was thinking about a different survival game on PlayStation that begins with you in a plane crash.
Oh, okay.
That was bad. I remember playing this one. I didn't want to put that evil on this game because it's not as bad as I was saying. I thought it was tedious, but not horrible.
Yeah.
I liked my time playing with it. I played with a couple years ago, and I liked like building my own like whirlybird, helicopter thing.
I haven't gotten that far yet.
Okay.
Basically, I've gotten to the point where I'm building my own raft and kind of sending it around collecting shit.
Mm-hmm.
And so like, yeah, it's a very, I don't know, it's a little tedious, but I'm enjoying it for what it is. Where it's like, I'll pop on it, I'll play it for a few hours and get very little done, but it's once you've like lowered the bar to be like getting like built slightly improving your raft is a huge deal.
Oh, I get it.
It scratches that part in your brain where I was like playing and I was like, I could totally survive in the wild by myself.
Right.
I can catch my own water.
Yeah.
Set a net trap for water.
You do.
It's like a box trap.
Kind of what it is.
You guys haven't played The Forest or Sons of the Forest or covered it, right?
It's on my list. It's on my list to play for The Forest, but
that's going to be a whole thing because it's. I don't think it's one of those games where if you just try to play it, you have to like look shit up to know where to go.
I was having to do that with Stranded Deep a lot too, and when I saw what you needed to do to get the end game, I was like, I'm not going to do any of that.
Right.
I just stopped playing. So
I did beat Sons of the Forest though, and it was chill. But I had to basically. It's just a series of caves, and all you have to do is look up the order of the caves you go in. And that's it. So it's not like
it's like Friday the 13th, the game. Because remember when you would get in that cave and you would have to choose like the right directions to go?
Oh, the NES game.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Sorry, I forgot there was another better one.
And there's a puzzle one too. You guys play that puzzle?
I have played the puzzle one.
That one's fun.
We should get to the main event here though, because we're about 10 minutes in already.
Yeah. Well, I was going to ask you what game you were playing, Tom, but I already kind of knew that.
I can't even remember, man.
You and I were playing Suicide Squad pretty hard for a minute.
Suicide Squad a lot.
I gotta play that.
It's a lot of fun.
I'm playing Helldivers 2.
Yeah, Helldivers 2 is a lot of fun, but I'm like Suicide Squad got a lot of bad press, but it's actually a lot of fun once you figure it out. There's just like a learning curve. No, not really.
No, not at all.
Not at all. Not at all. It's like a loot shooter, like a loot melee thing, but I really like the grind on it and what you can do in it and just the abilities of the different players. So
it's got good loot. It's got that Diablo style loot that Avengers didn't figure out. And I haven't been playing Diablo 4, so...
Yeah.
Anyway, that game really fell off for me. But that's not what we're here to talk about.
No, we're not.
We're sitting in our cars outside of a funeral home in Connecticut.
It's 1997.
It's raining.
We're listening to... what was the top of the charts back then? What was it?
1997.
Engelbert Humperdinck or something like that, what was it?
You got it.
You nailed it, yeah.
All notes.
It was Rio.
But we're still scared to go in, Dave. So we need to take a minute here and collect ourselves. Why don't you fill in the time though, and tell us about this game and tell us a scary story?
Oh, I will. I assume I'm telling you what the mortuary system is about.
It's like just giving a rundown. Game.
Yeah, I will. Like Tom said, it's Connecticut. You are Amanda?
Done.
No, Rebecca.
It's Connecticut.
You're somebody.
Yeah. You're a mortuary assistant named Rebecca, who is working the night shift. The game is basically it's like a puzzle. It's like a puzzle sim. And it's a loop. So what you do is you go into the mortuary, and you have to do a shift. And what that means is there is 3 to 4 bodies, and you have to go take each body out, take the gurney, bring the body from the like the morgue area to like the autopsy area. I guess it's not an autopsy. I'm sorry for any mortuary assistants out there.
Embalming.
You have to, the embalming room. You have to perform the embalming. You have to inspect the body. You have to, note any marks. You have to put those shit under their eyes so their eyes don't open. You embalm them. You log them into the computer, and then you put them back away. And you have to do this for several bodies. The catch is that you have to do this while being haunted by a demon. There is a demon possessing one of these bodies, and kind of like the game Clue, you have to figure out which body has the demon in it, what the demon is, what the name of the demon is, and then you have to embalm it with a special juice, and then put a special sigil that you've custom made just for that demon onto the chest and burn that body in order to get rid of the demon. If you don't, you get possessed by the demon. There are about 6 possible endings to this game. And as you keep playing the nights, because you don't just play one night, as you keep playing the nights, your haunting gets more and more elaborate, in which you learn things about your own character and what the mortuary really is and what's going on, including the secret of the basement of the mortuary. And so that's I believe the game, right?
Yeah.
Nailed it.
It's
man.
hard to Yeah, it's a sim. It's a sim game, which is weird, like at its heart. But it uses that format to, give you opportunities to get fucking scared a bunch. And it's raining.
And boy you do, and boy is it. This game. Creep me to the ground. Creep me right to the mat.
Speaking of creeps, I think I see a light on in yonder window, Tom.
Oh, is it him? Is he home?
I think he is.
It's time for us to tiptoe through the tulips up the lane. to rap on the door.
Up to rap on the door of Spookaboo Manor, the residence of Vincent Price.
Now I invite you to step inside Spookaboo Manor. Yeah, this is where we talk about the horror aspect of the game.
So we're talking about how scary the game actually was.
Yeah,
we're talking about
all the
elements.
spookiness.
Yeah, all the spookiness.
I mean, do we get to? Should I talk? I mean, I have things to say about the game design as well too.
We're gonna do that.
I
want to
save that. Yeah,
we're gonna do that in the boneyard.
That's when we finish traipsing through Spookaboo Manor and get out back.
We have to pay our tribute to Vincent here. He gets mad when we don't.
You can't see him right now, but he's listening.
Yeah.
Did you guys? I'm embarrassed to say it, but I streamed this game almost exclusively.
Yeah.
And the reason I did it is because it's too scary otherwise. For me. I'm sure I've said this before on this podcast. I love horror movies. I grew up on them. I actually find horror games stressful. I don't play them that much because they fucking stress me out, and they scare me. And I think it's just because I have the ability to control the player throughout the game.
Well, yeah, that's something one of the reasons we chose horror games is because video games kind of being the best medium for horror, because horror movies, horror book, it's over here. You can kind of separate yourself from it. But if you're playing a video game, it's the closest to actually having skin in the game that you have as far as horror. So you're actually being chased down the hallway by this monster, and you control whether or not it's going to get you. So
right, it's similar to a haunted house where there's moments in this game. One of the most simple things the demon does that fucks with you is they'll just simply turn off the lights in the room, not the room you're in necessarily, but for example, you're walking to the morgue and the lights will just shut off in the morgue, and you still have to get in the morgue, and you're like, fuck. Okay, and you're I still have to walk in. I have to find the light switch and turn those lights back on.
Yeah.
And it's such a fucking hassle. And I think this game's secret is that spooky stuff doesn't always happen. I think they portion it out, like they ration it out very well, that they'll just be like lights flickering, lights going off, shit kind of rattling. But then something big will happen, right? And that escalates the more you play around.
Yeah, I think like that's part of the mechanic. Like when you start messing with the correct body, more stuff will start happening. Like the haunting will get more intense the closer you get to figuring out which demon it is and what body it's in.
So apparently it's on a 90-minute timer. So basically in 90 minutes, if you don't burn a body, you're possessed.
That happened to me twice, 2 or 3 times.
Nice.
Really?
Actually.
Okay. I didn't know how much time there was on it exactly. I was in the game. One of the cool mechanics it uses is a little notepad that you scribble on. It's in your inventory. You click it open and you scribble on it, and it's like a free association thing that this weirdo leaves you in a tape recorder to do. He's like, just scribble whatever comes to mind. Don't think about anything.
Not
just
quite
scribble.
Lance Henriksen. I thought that was him for a second, but
it's Dolph Lundgren.
He
Voiced by
looks like
Lance
Dolph
Henriksen.
Lundgren. Yeah, it's
real
the
weird.
character model just is Dolph Lundgren, and he sounds like Lance or Samuel Hayden from the new Doom games.
Yeah, those two sound very similar.
You have this little notepad that you scribble on, and as you get closer and closer to being possessed, the randomness of the scribble will start to take shape into some satanic shit, and it's pretty spooky.
Yeah, it's the sigil of the house the demon belongs to that's haunting you. You'll start scribbling that. That's how I was able to tell like houses at some points. But yeah, I didn't know what the haunting was necessarily going to entail, and then all of a sudden, like when it's basically you're doing this puzzle kind of
a repetitive task.
It's a repetitive task, and it's really simple to do, but the demon is going to fuck with you the entire time to keep you from doing it.
Yeah. Did you guys get to a certain point where you had memorized it? Like I stopped looking at they give you like a clipboard. A clipboard, thank you, that you can check off the things. And after a few bodies, you're like, all right, I got it. I know exactly where everything is.
I've only done 2 runs. I think maybe that's a good place to start, so we're not all over the place. There's a lot of elements to talk about.
That's a good idea.
I only did 2 runs. I burned the right demon and got rid of it, and then I burned the wrong body and got possessed. How many times have you guys played it? How many endings have you guys got?
I've probably played about 5-ish times. I've only achieved 3 of the endings, although I fucked up one. I got the basement ending. I was on track and then I picked the wrong damn body. So I was on track for a new ending. So that's all to say that I got in the basement of the mortuary and learned some stuff. I don't know if you guys have done that.
I haven't. I've gotten into the basement, but I haven't gotten through the 2 doors in the basement. And I played it
you didn't find the old key.
I did find the old key, but it wasn't working on either door. I don't know if that was like a problem that I was having with my system.
It works on one of the doors.
Okay.
It should.
But yeah, I played it maybe 5 times, the same amount, and I got possessed all but the last time I played. And that's really why I kept playing. I was like, I'm going to find this fucking demon and he's going to burn. But yeah, I got locked in a coffin. I got buried alive, and I got the one where you burn the wrong body and just like fold up Dolph Lundgren like a little paper doll.
You do super fold up Dolph Lundgren.
The demons, by the way, are kind of Evil Dead demons. So behind the door, I only got through one of the doors, and behind that door is, I believe her name is Valerie. She is where
I don't even know what you're talking about.
So all right, so yeah. I guess to back up
there's
bit,
a lot to this game. Yeah.
So
there's a lot to
basically,
this game.
It's kind of like Inscription. Have you guys both played Inscription?
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Yep.
Inscription has the core game, right? A roguelike card game. And then as you're playing it, you realize, oh, I can get up. I can walk around. And it's sort of like, it becomes like an escape room, right? It's like Myst, where it's like a point and click puzzle. This game is sort of that, only you don't have to have that realization. It's a sim while you're getting haunted, but then slowly you realize, like, if you look under the cabinet, there's a lockbox with a code.
Yes, I did find the lockbox. Yeah.
So the way you start unlocking things is the more you play, every new round, your haunt gets more elaborate. Tom, did you ever have any like elaborate visions?
Oh yeah, I've had a few of those.
Okay,
which
like
is
the heroin
which is,
stuff.
I did see, the trap house and a couple of other things.
Did you get the one? Because I know what one Dave is talking about. It's the one with all the dudes. You have to open their mouths and look in their mouths. Yeah.
What happens? Yeah, there's one vision before it too. They start leaving clues that there is a code in those visions, and so if you start exploring those visions, you get the code to that box, which has a key. And there's a basement door outside. If you go around outside and look around at the start of the game, or you can go out later, you can get into the basement. And in the basement, there's all this
all
lore.
kinds of goodies.
Yeah. And if you're looking in the drawers, you might find an old key. And when you use that old key on one of the doors, what you learn is that, you know how he added something to the embalming, that special juice?
His goo, his special goo.
Okay,
You learn where that comes from.
Yeah,
and
I
it
see where you're
comes
going
from
with
a possessed woman who is locked in a coffin, and he is just using her blood. That's all you're doing. And you can actually free her, which is what I did. And it's not a good idea. I do not recommend freeing the demon because she just possesses you.
Yeah, why would you do that, Dave? You know what kind of game you're playing.
Yeah, I just wanted to. It was
I
fun.
felt bad. Also, I wanted to see an ending.
Yeah.
I just wanted to feel something.
Yeah, it was pretty much the same ending though as the possession one where you fold up Dolph. Yeah. And so like you slowly uncover stuff about as you play, you just keep getting more visions. There's apparently an ending where you get to talk with your dead father. There's an ending where you confront Dolph about the key. There's a few versions, right? And so that's as far as I got, is like this demon in the basement. But I want to keep playing because it seems like there's more to uncover.
Yeah, that was. I really liked the loop. There was something almost like peaceful about doing the embalming in that.
The rain is gentle and nice.
I think that's an interesting way the game is designed, right, in terms of spookiness.
Yeah.
Because a lot of the scares are pretty clever in the game. As Dave was saying, it's not always these huge elaborate ones or really obvious ones. Sometimes it's really subtle. Sometimes it's just a sound. Like sometimes you'll just hear the little ding ding of the front door opening.
Which
reminds, things like that.
Yeah, this is like reminiscent of The Autopsy of Jane Doe. Great movie.
Yes.
Great movie.
Yeah, this is essentially just that movie, the video game. It's clever scare design. And I think the fact that the embalming little mini games are just they're very like Mario Party mini games. They remind me of like kind of not brain teasers, but like brain exercise type puzzles where they have you do different movements and kind of using your brain in slightly different ways and thinking about space in slightly different ways. So you're doing this stuff that is meditative and it is kind of lulling you into this peaceful state so that when a demon pops up and is like, "Ragabagaboo, check out this box," or whatever they're doing. It's like those old, one of the early internet memes of where it was like, look, stare at this picture, you'll find something hidden, and then they just put a monster that would flash up there with a loud noise after about 20 seconds.
Great demon impression, by the way. No, and they do stuff like, for example, we mentioned the lights turning off, right? Is that like, there's that hallway from the embalming room to the morgue. And that hallway, every now and then the lights will turn off. And sometimes the lights will just turn off. That's what they'll do. That's it. Sometimes there's a sudden silhouette there. And there's a demon in that room. And so like the fact that it doesn't always do the same thing, but it does a similar thing makes you go like it makes it so that like having multiple outcomes, I can't say that I didn't get used to it at a certain point, but you're still like thrown off. It'll still throw you off.
Right.
And there's always new visions. Like there'll always be new ways while you're doing the embalming at a certain point. Like there's a point where you're pumping the embalming or the belly fluid and they transition that into a cutscene until a new vision. Like the way the visions will show up will start becoming different, which I really like. And I like that. Like the one of my favorite ones, the ones that got me, was being shoved in the hallway. Did you guys get shoved?
Oh
in
yeah,
the
I
hallway?
got
Yeah,
shoved a couple
it was-
times.
Because there's no warning. You're just like, fuck!
No, you're just
God
in the
damn,
middle of
yeah.
doing an errand. You're like, I've got to go to A to B because there's a boom, and some ghosts put 2 hands in your chest and send you flying.
There's a few I still haven't gotten. Like there's ones where the hallway will just, the doors will vanish, and I haven't seen that one yet. And they'll just be like a figure standing
I've
turned
been
away
sent.
from you. And shit.
I've been sent down the hallway between the office and the embalming room, and like the doors just keep going into the same hallway.
Oh fuck! Really?
Yeah.
I haven't gotten that one. That's
And
awesome.
The door behind you is locked, so you can't go back. The one that made me jump was at the portion of the, the embalming or whatever, where you're entering the information into the computer, and I'm just like focusing on that, and then I look up, all of a sudden the body is just standing up in front of me,
Yep.
like reaching towards me, and I was like, "What the fuck?"
Yeah, the body doing shit.
When the bodies will point.
Sitting
My
up.
my
pointing.
son came out. He's like, "Are you okay?"
Yep.
Yeah, I'm fine,
Then-
man.
One of the worst ones I got early on in the game, because Dave did say, and I do agree, that after a minute, once you sort of figure out the basic rules of it, it gets less intense because you figure out that the game won't flat out kill you. Like you have to get to the end
It's
of the night,
distracting
basically.
you. It's distracting
Yeah,
you.
it's just it's getting in your way. So after a while, you do start to get like, God damn it, can I get back to work?
Yeah.
It wants you to come check out the noise that you just heard, so you waste time doing that.
Exactly, yeah. But I was trying to highlight one of the ones that got me real good early on was when the body just contorts up and its arm goes up and just points behind it into the morgue, and all of the lights turned off. And
Yep.
it's like, what it'll do during these visions is lock up all of your other available
Yeah.
options. So you
You
have
can't
no
do anything.
choice but to just, well, I got to go where this stupid body is pointing. Okay. But it was one of those early on in the game where I don't know what the rules are and I don't know how
Right.
it's going to mess with me. When you're met with that, you're just like, okay, I got to pause the game for a second, get
Yeah.
up, walk around.
Like, fuck. Okay.
Put
okay.
Earth, Wind, and Fire
And
back
honestly, even when you get used to it, for example, like, I played for hours and the bathroom was safe in my head because nothing ever happened in the bathroom.
Oh, the first scare I got was in the bathroom.
That's
Yeah.
what it feels like. They randomized it because nothing
They
had
do.
happened in the bathroom until something happened. And then it was just like, geez. So it's like you start like noticing patterns that aren't there, and you let your guard down, and then all of a sudden they will break that pattern. I don't know if they did that on purpose. I don't know how random it is, because it sounds like people are experiencing completely different versions of this, which I love.
I've read it's procedurally generated each time.
Okay,
like there's
yeah.
there's a predetermined number of outcomes that you can get to, but like I think the stuff in between is just a total die roll.
Yeah,
RNG.
I love procedural generation and like using seeds this way where like you just like the combination, right? Like there's a lot of survival games like this where the world will be procedural generated except for like big story points. And I love that because it makes it so replayable, where it's like, yeah, you'll get used to like the big story points, but everything in between is a nice little surprise, or everything's a little different. It's a great tactic because, yeah, you guys are describing things that I didn't even experience, you know?
Well, yeah, and you guys were going on about the basement and all this other
Yeah.
stuff. Like I haven't looked around at the outside of the house, but I did walking through that little connecting hallway. I looked out the window and I was like, I bet there's something out there.
Yeah, I tried getting in my car to
Grandma
drive away.
is out there.
If you don't pay attention to her, because it got to a point where, like you were saying, like the scares are just like when you realize like, all right, they're not going to come out and hurt me. Like the shadow guy would appear and I'd just be like walking around and I was like, excuse me, buddy, I got to get through here.
Right.
Yeah, I'm on the clock, man.
Yeah. Or like when the grandma starts banging on the window to talk to you and I'm just like, fuck you, grandma, I'm trying to work here. And I just start walking back towards the morgue, and all of a sudden the lights go off and she jumps out in front of you.
Oh,
and
that's awesome.
attacks you with a knife. And it's just like, what the fuck? Oh my God.
Fuck you,
I had an
Grandma.
entirely different reaction from Grandmama. That's interesting.
Yeah.
Well, I mean,
She just got pissed and slammed on the window outside.
she does that, but like once I found it was like my third playthrough, I'm like, this game is just trying to distract me. So anytime I heard the door open, anytime I heard like the doors to the morgue drawers, the body drawers start banging around, I just ignored them. Just like, nope, don't hear that. Just gonna go over here, gonna juice this body
That's
up.
dangerous thinking. Better to just focus on your work.
Yeah. Exactly.
I love that the game anticipated that, and they're like, "No, don't you dare
Yeah.
keep working."
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's really clever. There were some comparisons I drew or I was seeing with this and Amnesia, especially like with the carnival barker thing at the beginning, Tom, that you like so much in Amnesia, where they're like, if you play this game and you start seeing things, consult with a spiritual medium immediately. But
they do that for this. Yeah,
it stays on screen until you press a key on the keyboard, so it just hangs there for longer than you would intend it for it to.
Yeah,
so it's just this
like,
goofball
is this
thing.
really going to scare me? It's
really funny.
But and it's constantly just trying to fuck with you, like Amnesia. It's just trying to fuck with you. Nothing's going to happen to you as long as you. And like 90 minutes is a long time to solve this puzzle. It's a long time.
Right. Once you,
it goes by.
That's the thing is you get that pressure, that ticking clock pressure, and that makes it tense.
It feeds into the existing tension of being like, I'm going to see something fucked up, and it's also like, I have to get this done before time runs out.
Yeah, and the music, there's music that starts happening when you, like, I
thought it was a revving
calls.
engine. It sounded like something was revving, like it go like.
Yeah, I had a few close calls where I burned a body right when it was like almost up and shit like that. And like once you start exploring the basement and shit, then you're like, fuck, man, now I have more shit I gotta do before this timer runs out.
I had one set up where I had just put the disc on the guy and I was pushing it towards the furnace, and then I got possessed.
Oh, that sucks.
Yeah, and
too late, man. You were too slow.
I was too slow. I was taking too much time. I kept looking at the night shift thing on the computer. It's like, okay, did I get all this right? And it'll like trick you because like if you like a telltale sign is you'll see the demon tattoo on their wrist.
Yes,
that's a telltale one. I was like, I gotcha. And then it started manifesting like wounds and marks on like another body, and I was like, oh, wait a minute. So I ended up choosing that body and burning it, and it was the lady with the tattoo on her wrist.
I have not yet taken a body, put it back, and then taken it back out. Meaning that like that's part of the reason I've lost, I think, is like I basically like it seems like the third body or like one of the last bodies is always the one that's possessed, but it does jump. It jumps body to body. I know that. So, like, you do have to keep taking them back out, right? And can you inspect them right there in the morgue, or do you have to bring them all the way back?
You can see like the marks that would be visible on like on the top of them, but like if you want to roll them over on their back or something like that, or manipulate their arms, you have to take it back in the room.
I've lost a couple times just by going like, screw it. I'm just going to do this person because like I don't feel like I have time to check everybody else. It's such a process.
Well, I was like doing it very meticulously at first, like opening it and then like when I put the bodies back, I would push them all the way back in and then shut the door. Like by the end of it, I was just like, they might as well just be all lying on the floor. And I'm just like, running through the place because I'm like, no, we don't need to close it. Doesn't matter. None of this matters.
What I don't understand is why you don't just pile all three bodies on top of each other and shove them all into the front. Yeah, that's exactly what I would do.
Yeah.
And then you would get possessed, Tom.
No, he's in there somewhere.
But you
didn't get the right name. The disc isn't on the right person.
Oh, I get the name. The name's not a problem.
It's funny how whether or not you're possessed, they still do. Wait, is this right? Because I've gotten possessed after the demon screamed from the furnace.
Oh yeah. That's when you burn the wrong.
They fake
body.
you out.
Yeah.
That's the you've burned the wrong body ending.
No, they do it both. I'm pretty sure.
No, I know they do for both.
Yeah, the screaming happens when you burn the right one, and you get the same furnace.
It's the same
shot.
Yeah, basically the furnace stuff. Yeah, it happens no matter what.
Yes,
which is interesting.
So you don't really know
really
until
fucking.
Yeah.
Going back to the horror, I want to say Two other things, like you mentioned the Shadow Man. I have an old, like my first stream of this, there's a funny moment where the entire stream noticed something that I didn't. And I love that it's that subtle, that there's a shot in my stream where I pan over and I'm just looking around the room and there's a Shadow Man in like on top of a cabinet, like crouched. And the stream was just like, Jesus Christ. And I'm just like, doop, 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 doop. Just completely didn't notice this asshole.
They're watching the horror movie now.
And I love that they do little opportunities like that. Like when you're on the computer, the background's out of focus, so you might not
just
notice.
See over the top of
that's
when
I saw the lady like reaching out for me, and I scared the shit out of me.
And I just want to, I don't think I said this earlier, but I want to make sure this is like the demon. Did you guys get Evil Dead vibes?
Oh yeah, the grandma
great.
outside.
Yeah,
I love that
That's Evil Dead too. Yeah, but yes. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I just love that that's the type of demon they chose, is straight up Evil Dead demons. Like, if you get into that, if you meet Valerie, she is straight up a Dead Knight, just like screaming at you in her coffin. It's great. I just love that inspiration.
I think we've talked enough about the spookiness of it all. And Vincent's eyelids are getting pretty heavy. His chin is getting pretty low on his chest.
The Golden Bachelor has already ended. It's past time for his stories. The street lights are on. It might as well be midnight for him.
And his gigantic high-backed chair.
Leave.
Leave me now. So that I might slumber. So let's shuffle on out back door and head on out into the boneyard. Perhaps now we should go traipsing through the boneyard. This is where we talk about the gameplay.
The bones of the game. Them bones.
Yeah.
Them lovely bones.
Dave, since you're the guest, do you want to take the bone baton here first?
I have a take. It's just an interesting thing I've noticed about horror games. And that I think this game has included in it, which is that horror games are not the only games. And in fact, now that I think about it, this is what I like about survival games too.
You heard it here.
Here's what's interesting to me is that horror games are the only games that get away with having tedious tasks and repetitive tasks that aren't meditative. And what I mean by that is, like, when I play Minecraft, there's a meditative quality to those tedious tasks. They aren't tedious. But horror games tend to have, like, when you're playing Friday the 13th, they purposefully make, like, oh, I have to repair this car. Let's make it a really annoying mini game.
The task isn't the point.
Yes. And this is kind of the same way, where it's like we're talking about checking the bodies. It's like, okay, well, you have to go all the way back in here, get the gurney out, go all the way back. And that's the kind of thing another game might streamline because it's tedious, because that, people would find that tedious. And that's entirely the point, is that the gameplay itself is just fundamentally tedious in a way that would maybe be meditative if it was a sim, like Power Washing Simulator. Like, it's just a really cool idea to take the meditative qualities of a sim game and sort of up the tedium of that, and then make that the obstacle, right? That you're fighting the clock and you're constantly getting freaked out.
Those are,
and I guess that's similar, like, Alien Isolation. You have to saw open a door. Mm-hmm. They're gonna make it take 30 fucking seconds.
Oh, trying to decrypt the code for it to get it open while you hear an alien thumping around behind you.
Right. And any other game, that's a bad thing, right? But they know what they're doing. They're doing it on purpose, and I got that vibe from this one as well. Yeah,
that's something I really love about that, because you do similar stuff in, like, Dead Space, especially Dead Space 2. Starting in there, they have you, like, do, like, some engineering stuff because you're an engineer. So, like, you're, like, trying to rewire these things or get these doors open, and meanwhile you got all these monsters and stuff, like, scrambling around behind you. And with this one, the tasks are really mundane. Like, one of the things that kept making me nervous, and this is what I really liked about it, is they keep moving the supplies on you. Like, they keep switching it around, and I'm like, where are my goddamn scalpels? It's really dark, so it's hard to see in some points. But it's just like, because, like, you're like, oh no, I had a system, and you fucked it up because all the stuff is moved. And it's just like the horror of mundanity at that point. It's just that's such a good touch to it. Like, it's the demons just keeps fucking with you.
Yeah, even solving the puzzle, the sigils. Because did you guys encounter every now and then a signal, the paper would flare up and you couldn't find the sigil right away that had marked?
I've found all the ones that I've burned a paper for so far, but I've only done 2 shifts.
It takes a minute to find some of them, and you start panicking.
Yes, and because there was previously a glitch with the sigils that's since been long repaired, where like sometimes they wouldn't show up, but like every now and then I got one where like I was in the hallway, it flared up, I couldn't find it, and realized it was in the bathroom next door.
Yeah,
so like they still have some proximity
like
issues
on the side
there.
of the sink too. They'll make them really small.
Yes. Where it's like you feel like I looked everywhere, and then it's like, did you look inside of a drawer? Did you look under something? Like they could be anywhere.
I was standing on one in the morgue at one point. There's a tiny one on the tile on under my feet.
Damn. And then you have to, of course, look at it, kind of memorize it so you can go back. And I didn't write anything down. I would just take that sigil and like that mark and put it in the main sigil. But then you need all 4. I thought maybe you could get away with 3, but when you go on the computer, you can.
As long as you know what house they're from, you can do that.
Well, how else can you what I was looking at is on the database, there were so many where 3 was they had similar like ones down to 3. Like 3 would be similar, and then the 4th one would be different.
I didn't get that one. No.
Yeah, neither did I. I was
really?
able to figure out the name of the demon just by process of elimination by finding enough runes or sigils.
Yeah,
I had to
knowing
find
what
4.
house they were under.
I always had to find 4 in order to get it.
They reminded me a lot of Phasmophobia, in good and bad ways. I do like this game a lot. I love the replayability of it. I like the loop of it. It reminds me of World of Horror, where I can keep hitting it, and it's like a kind of random thing each time, and you're really just trying to see, like the game's main menu knows this. It tells you how many shifts you've done, how many bodies you've burned, how many times you've survived, how many times you've been possessed. So it's encouraging you to just do this loop over and over again. And like Phasmophobia, it borrows a lot of that stuff where you have to pay attention to subtleties to figure out the demon, which I like because it makes it very tense and scary. Because especially when you're first starting the game, you have no idea what to look for. They give you a little video in one of the files on the computer, but it's just the guy's feet moving,
which I have never seen happen.
I've never seen that. Yeah, so I really like that aspect of it, but what was a problem with Phasmophobia early on and with that game Devour that we streamed a little bit on GU is that sometimes it is so subtle there doesn't appear to be anything. Like in the 2 games that I played, the sign to figure out which body was the demon was intensely subtle. Like I to the point where I had all 3 bodies figured out on the second run, and I just couldn't figure out which demon it was. So I picked one at random and lost.
Yeah, wow. Yeah, for me, it's always been if it has any marks that you don't, you know how like you have to write down the marks, but the demonic marks you don't write down. So to me, it was like if it has any marks that you couldn't write down that were demonic marks of some sort, I kind of assumed that's the demon, right?
Oh, okay. I hadn't learned to look for that.
Did you guys get one where like the demon cut the sigil in front of you into its body, like violently?
No, that's awesome.
Yeah, it did that to me one time. The body just started like flopping around, and all of a sudden it's like Freddy Krueger in First Nightmare. This symbol like is carved in the body's chest.
I had a body get up and run away, and then that wasn't the demon. And I realize now it ran to the morgue. And then I had a vision and it was back on the gurney, and I'm like, oh, that was it going back into another body, wasn't it? Like, it feels like the game is very obtuse with that. And I can't tell if that's designed to make it so that there's like a little bit of luck, like it's a little bit of guessing, and therefore upping the replayability where you're like, damn, okay, I got to do it again. Because I would say this game is replayable until you get all the endings. And so it's replayable for like 10 hours, which is fine.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. It's about like 10 playthroughs is probably about you'll get your fill of it. But what this was kind of reminded me of a little bit And I think this is by design. I don't think I'm giving it too much credit. Swaim actually just wrote an article about this movie for Hot Dog, but Cemetery Man. Have y'all ever seen that? It's got Rupert Everett, and it's an Italian zombie movie, and he works at a cemetery, and his job is to basically, like, when they become zombies and rise up, he's kills them and buries them back in the cemetery. So he's just essentially like a garbage man in the cemetery. And it's very like I think there's a scene where he's just like, fixing himself some dinner, and he looks out the window and there's a zombie shuffling around. He just casually picks up a gun and shoots it in the head, and then just goes back to making his dinner. And I think that's kind of what this game starts to be after a while, because like I said, I had that moment with the shadow thing, and I was just like, excuse me, buddy, I need to get through here. And like it just becomes mundane, and that's when it tricks you again. It gets you to like say like, all right, I've got this figured out. And then it's got enough stuff in its like in its random generation that it can still trick you. And it like is like, no, I want you to start treating this like it's mundane at this point. And then it just opens up a whole new, scare factor for you.
It's interesting because it starts mundane. Like, Tom, you texted me, you're like, so I just have to put this shit in the computer. And it's like, I remember that feeling when I first started, which is like, wait, am I just doing an autopsy? Is something going to happen? Because it doesn't, not much necessarily happens right away, right? Like,
yeah.
It's a slow burn. And so then there's like a knock and you're like, oh shit, do I have to go to the door? And you slowly learn like, okay, there's nothing at the door. All right, I see what's happening here. I'm getting fucked with. Yeah. And so it's mundane at first, and then it slowly gets to you. You're like, oh, I fucking see. And you start getting paranoid. Then you get used to the scares, and it kind of gets mundane again. And then if you start uncovering more and more shit, it stops being mundane again. And it sort of, like it keeps giving this false sense of like security where you're like, all right, I figured this out.
Yeah, it's the grandma scare. Like when I ignored her at the window and I was just like, all right, I know what that is. And then all of a sudden she's like in front of you and all the lights are off and she has a knife. I was like, what the fuck? I loved that moment. That moment was great.
It's almost like an RPG where there's like contingency plans where it's like, okay, well, if they do this other thing, then we're going to change what happens. And I appreciate the care that was put into that.
I did get a little irritated with some of the turning the lights off scares because you can't see a goddamn thing if they get you in the right spot. So I got stuck in one of those. They've turned the lights off for about 5 minutes because I could not get myself reoriented in the room, so I couldn't find my way to the light switch. You can sort of see it.
The light switch glows in the dark.
Yes, but if you don't know which direction you're oriented in, that doesn't help you very much.
I actually, I at one point I Googled where's the fucking light switch in this one room. What I did is I started by closing the doors a lot, but I realized like some doors you leave open for that reason. Because if one of the lights goes out in one of the rooms, you want to be able to see your way back in. And then I learned quickly like, okay, memorize the light switches, know where they are. Know your switches. But it is like, I don't know. Yeah, there was I had a moment like that where I was like, where the fuck is this light switch?
Yeah, I had that, the lights went off of me in the morgue one time, and I realized like the doors were still open and it was behind one of the doors. So like I was like, I couldn't find it.
Yeah, I mean, I think for the most part, I like how this is designed, but there are little things. I do think, like, I never felt confident about, because like I said, the marks on the bodies is how I did it, except I did have a run where none of the bodies had marks. And when that happened, I was like, well, I just don't know. And I had been playing for a while. So it's like, I never felt fully confident about that process of like, determining who the demon is. I never got a handle of that, which made the game enjoyable because it wasn't so routine, but I did feel like they weren't giving me that much. And I wasn't sure if that's the point or not, I never played around where like I discovered the basement and then I kind of wondered, I hadn't played around since, where it's like the next time I play, am I going to have to learn the code again? Am I going to have to redo all this basement stuff? And I don't know.
The code is the same.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, because
Huh.
I remembered the code from
the
a
key- I
prior
assume the
game,
key's
and I
back
just
in
like, I
there.
wonder if the code still works. And like, beep, boop, boop. Oh yeah, it does.
Okay,
So-
that's good.
Yeah, so I think it still works. I was also taking pictures with like the Switch's like screen cap. Like anytime I saw a sigil, I would just be
Right.
like, cap it, and then I can pause it and look it up. It's kind of cheating the game, but
Eh,
I was taking pictures of the sigil too, just with my phone.
yeah.
oh,
Like eat shit, demon, click.
I've got technology.
My favorite gameplay. It's not a problem. Like they know this is the deal. It's just very funny. Is when you crush your boss into a ball and then you come into work the next day like nothing happened. Because like like if you get possessed, they're like try again. And that's just very funny to me that like they'll just be like, it's a mulligan. Let's just pretend like you didn't crush your boss into a ball and throw him across the room. It's
Ball
like
Flungren.
it's like if someone freaked out at work, quit, and then came back the next day like nothing happened. It's just very funny because the game, there's no getting around it, right? The game's not going to go like, game over, you can't play anymore.
Yeah,
I feel like that's a sketch I've seen.
Yeah, probably.
Did you say ball flungren?
I did.
Okay,
From he's turned into a ball.
I wanted to shout that out because that was very clever, Tom.
That is very clever.
Yeah, I think that's the problem. I guess not a problem. That's the thing with all these games, I guess, is they like Devour and Phasmophobia and this, they leave the rules intentionally vague, because it's a ghost game and to be spooky and stuff, but that can sort of, I do kind of start to feel like I'm just guessing. Although I was pretty confident in the first round, so I don't know. I'll definitely play more shifts and see how I do.
I think Phasma, I think the idea is, they want you to kind of guess, but they also, I think the more you play, the more you're like, okay, I know what to look for, right? I
Yeah,
know
I think so.
Phasma got to a point where it was boring, where we were creating like meta games in the game. And I think this game, what I like about this game is it's not like we want, this is the problem with so many games now, is they're like, we want you to play this game for 10 years. And it's like, some games aren't games like that. And
Most games aren't games like that.
And especially repetitive games. And I think what this did that Phasma failed to do, and it is a failure, is this has a story at least, where like replaying, you're rewarded with like an unfolding story the more you play.
It's what Hades did to keep people playing.
Yeah. But it's trying to be both. Like the funny thing about crushing your boss into a ball is that goes against the fact that there's also an ongoing story. So they're trying to have it both ways, right? Where it's like Phasmophobia and Call of Duty, it's just like you play rounds and you die, you win, you lose, and then you play a new one and we reset. And that's kind of Phasmo, right? Where it's like there's no ongoing story. So every time your character dies and comes back, it's just like, it's a new round.
Yeah, I think that's the same with this one too. Like every time you die, you just die. It's this alternate reality, I guess. Go.
Yeah, it's interesting to do that and try to do a story based on your character who has a specific backstory. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, it gives you a reason to keep playing. It's like, I kind of want to find out what happened to her dad. But that's one thing I did want to add on to here, which I thought was interesting. I always try to like find something out. There's not a lot about this game online as far as its development, but like what I did find that was interesting was Brian Clark, who's the guy that made this. An initial prototype was released of this in 2020, and he was surprised to find that many people wanted a full simulation of embalming. They wanted more embalming stuff, so he was like, okay, and just like added a lot of the embalming stuff that we're doing in this game. Even though it's like kind of rudimentary and like, older ways of doing it, which he thought fit the story better and the mood. But yeah, he was kind of surprised that people wanted to do so much embalming in it. And like I said, there was something weirdly satisfying about it. It's just completing a task.
Did you ever play like Surgical Simulator? It's very similar.
Yeah.
It's just Surgical Simulator with a ghost peeking over your shoulder.
Also, did you ever look at some of the game names in this game? Like I came
some
across
of them were
one that
real
was
weird.
like Jesse Pineapple, and I was like, dude, I wanted to know Jesse Pineapple before he died.
There's a chaotic sense of humor in this game.
yeah.
Like, did you see the not all bees cereal box in your apartment?
No.
Where it's like there's this whole diatribe on the back about how it doesn't have bees in it, even though the box says it has bees in it.
That's great.
And the radio station ends. It's very Rick and Morty. He's like, it's the one song radio station where we just play one song. So counting down to that next song again. Here we go. The radio station that plays one song.
Your shirts say stuff like band name on them.
Yeah,
if you go through the
band
trip.
name.
Apparently, it pays off to go through that stuff because some of that stuff gets you an ending. I was wondering what the point of that is. Because it's like you start at your house and then you get in the car, and apparently there is shit to do in those parts that contribute to the game.
You definitely need to get your father's necklace and your sobriety coins from your apartment. Well, I don't know if you definitely need to, but those are things you can
I didn't
get.
even know that was a thing.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, they're in the drawers underneath the TV.
Did you guys find the fuses?
Yeah, I found fuses. I don't know what to do with them yet.
I always use the fuse at the beginning, and I think it has to do with the basement.
It does, because if you don't put it in, the TV doesn't work.
Oh, interesting. Okay. Oh, fuck! I just figured out what I need to do. Sorry, to make the door work, I think you have to remove the fuse afterwards. I think that door is on a fuse, but anywho.
Yeah, let's scuttle on down the lane to the last Blockbuster. For our final section, would you buy the VHS? Please tell me whether or not I should just buy this VHS.
Ooh, Navy SEALs.
I would.
Now,
I would.
Yeah, well, they just wrote this. The basic idea is if this was a grease-stained VHS video cassette sitting on the shelf of your local Blockbuster, would you buy this VHS if it were to go on sale? So you could add it to your horror movie collection, delight your friends and future sleepovers.
And it would have, like, on the border of the case, like, whatever Spookaboo film festival, like, it appeared in or whatever it was that released it.
Oh, the fake laurels? Because they could just put laurels on any
like when
old
they put it on
festival.
Carnosaur, and we're like, man, this must be good. It got an award with laurels on it.
Carnosaur has a shocking number of laurels on its cover. But Dave, you said you'd buy this.
I would.
You'd buy this VHS. Yeah, I hell yeah. Like it's Autopsy of Jane Doe the game, more or less. This is a grand old time. I found a lot in kinship with World of Horror. So yes, big old yes from me.
I was kind of on the fence about it, but the more we're talking about it, the deeper I see that has. It's always good when we get like a game that doesn't appear because the graphics are pretty bad in this game. I mean, it's an indie game.
They're not bad, but they're just not.
That opening scene with like her talking to her grandmother in the diner, that was like PlayStation 2 era.
Nobody can emote. That's true.
Yeah, but
it's indie game graphics.
but it's
That's
indie
how
game.
I play so many indie games.
That's not the point of the game. Yeah, it's not the point of the game. And I like it when they do a lot with very little, like this, or like with her story, like another game that we covered. So yeah, I mean, I'd buy this. This was a fun little romp. Maybe like you pick it back up every once in a while and just have fun shoving needles in things.
I could see speed running this. Yeah,
I was about to say this game would actually make a pretty good. This would be a pretty good speedrun game, honestly.
Oh yeah,
it's designed that way for sure.
Yeah. Oh my god.
Wow, man.
It's not every day a game has a heroin simulator scene too.
I know. Yeah, it's all of a sudden it's Tideland.
It's just the Guitar Hero episode of South Park.
Yeah,
He's just chasing a dragon through
Chasing
a
the
cartoon
dragon.
forest. You can't get me.
You can't get me. I think the moon has set on this episode. I think we've done it.
woohoo!
Oh man,
Dave, thank you so much.
let's wipe these bodies down and put them up.
Yeah.
Let's wipe Dave down and put him up.
Yeah.
Thanks, man. Thank you so much for being on the show.
Oh yeah, of course. Oh, one last thing. They don't let you fuck the bodies. What's with that?
I know.
Man, they
I
should.
tried.
It's weird.
It's like the #1 comment on the Steam review page.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let us fuck those bodies.
At least let us
come
put
on,
a finger
update.
in somewhere.
Yeah. Do the finger update.
Like, what's the
But
point of rolling them over?
I don't get health care at this place, so
Yeah.
you got to give me some sort of benefits.
Oh yeah.
But Dave, what do you want to tell everybody?
Nothing. They're here. They're here.
I live here. You guys you're on the network already. You've done it. That's all we have.
Wait, do you
You
guys have
won.
a podcast?
Oh, we have many. Too many.
We should probably tell them about the Patreon. We have a Patreon. You guys can go visit the Patreon. Patreon.com/gamefullyunemployed. Where for just $5 a month, you can get access to all sorts of cool exclusive podcasts like Tom and Jeff Watch Batman, Fox Mulder is a Maniac, Star Trek The Next Futurama, and Spiel Boys. We have a $10 tier where we watch movies with our patrons every Friday night. And you can even get your own podcast commissioned about just about anything you want almost. So check that out. And check out our store.
GamefullyUnemployed.com. We're switching roles, Tom.
We're switching roles here,
where you can get access to our merch store. You get t-shirts and mugs and stickers and stuff.
It's like a round of Mortuary Assistant, Dave. It's swapped around. It's switched up. You never know how it's going to be. It's all random.
It is.
They moved the fucking sutures to a place where I can't find them.
I'm just going to keep yelling in the middle of it to throw you guys off, too. But yeah, if you guys want to find me, you certainly can. I'm on Blue Sky at Johnny Rhymes. I'm currently on Twitter hiatus for a while. That place got too grim.
Yeah, it still is grim.
I still have it,
pretty grim,
but it's deleted off my app. And honestly, I feel a lot better. I haven't been as stressed this week, so it's nice not to doom scroll. I'm waiting for Blue Sky to start being that way, but right now it's not really. So.
Take a lot of the stress out of my week now to stroll into this haunted mortuary.
Yeah. Oh, man, I've been on Twitter for too long. These demons can't do anything to me anymore. You can't hurt me anymore.
All right. Say goodbye, everyone.
I think we're done here. Get out of here.
Our episode artwork is provided by Doc Garby. You can follow him on Twitter at _JDBurrows_. Our channel artwork is produced by Michael Vincent Bramley. You can find more of his artwork at Instagram.com/MVBramleyArt.